Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to go over the current PvP and the current PvP state and over my last Foggy Coliseum tournament teams. So the current PvP, I also have changed a bit the resolution. I'm not sure if it's going to be noticed in the recording, but it's a bit more stretched out because when you go to the setup before, all of these items and icons were kind of clumped up in one basically. So the synergies were like here and the pets were all over. You basically couldn't see the position 5. So now I have changed up the resolution and it's a bit better, but I'm not sure if it's going to be better for the recording, so I will see about that later. But for now I will do this video as of right this display, and I will see later if I will need to change it. So my last Foggy Coliseum was quite easy and surprisingly, so I only have two real matchup opponents that I consider to be worthy. The first one and the most important one being Vic, which I have defeated 5-3. A bit of a luck in my opinion, and as well as prediction by just simply putting counter teams. And then Mysterio, which is second, but it was quite an easy win for some reason, not sure why. It's been a while since I have looked at the matches, but everyone else is pretty much easy Foggy for now, so let's go over the main battle against Vic, which was the 5 victory for me and 3 victories for him. So he ran the basic Doom Babylon team, which is surprisingly he ran Dahlia instead of the Victoria, which is a Fate hero, pretty suiting for this team because you also gain 3 Monarchs with Victoria, whereas with Dahlia you are swapping just the Babylon, and I'm not sure if that's even a good thing to do. Whereas on my end I did run the classic old Phantom Avengers, which in my opinion is still the strongest lineup in the game by far, although you can kind of beat it with Ethereals with Lucifer or even without Lucifer sometimes if you have the good rally combo and if the RNG is on your side. So my logic going into this battle was putting the strongest team, aka Lucifer, on the first team because I did want to start a battle with 3-0, which also did happen. So the current state of the PvP is there's only two strong teams, being Ethereals and Avengers, and the close third is the Dooms in my opinion. So the rest of the teams are pretty irrelevant. Something like Valiantors, Mystifiers, Glorians are pretty irrelevant. I'm talking strictly mono synergies in this case, not a mix of other synergies. So this was my main first team. Position number 5 or rather 3 is Narissa because position number 3 does give accuracy. So we want to have accuracy on our Narissa because she ults the most. Then we have the position number 5 be Althea, which is pretty flexible with Ying Zheng, but I like Ying Zheng because he can negate the enemy damage. And position number 2 is Argdina because it's kind of the safest position, and Lucifer in number 2 to reduce the incoming damage from the position number 4 node, which I don't have currently active, but that's the logic behind the positioning. So you can also kind of do Narissa in position number 5 if you want more damage, less accuracy, but I personally prefer having Narissa in the position number 3. My relics were different in the case of against Vic because I did change them against Mysterio. So against Vic I did end up running the Lance and this one was Frost Claw. So Frost Claw to remove enemy holy shields and Lance to give my heroes additional action, which is nice and not really needed, but it's nice with this synergy. And I didn't really need this relic in my Dooms raid at the moment, so I decided to give it to them. So obviously this matchup was my win because he didn't run any special Dooms matchup. There's Doom's version where people run the Primordial Argdina along instead of Victoria in here, and that Doom team is also quite strong. You can also kind of set up Lucifer instead of Sarija Yushta, and then those 5 Dooms are actually quite insanely strong, but I didn't really test them or run them. I have seen the teams and I do believe they are strong. I did play against them, just not in the Foggy Coliseum matchup. So the first win was pretty easy to win because the Avenger Phantoms with Lucifer are just untouched by these Dooms on his side. Then the second matchup was his Avengers with Victoria. I'm not sure why he ran Victoria here. I do believe Victoria is the best unit for the Dooms, but I can see the reasoning being to enchant his Mavis, but Mavis unfortunately in my opinion is not as good as she was once in her prime age. He also does have 3 Celestials and 2 EV heroes, which in my opinion is not ideal case. So once again we have a clear win on my case. Also on top of that, Lucifer does in a way counter Aphrodite, and as well as Mavis, because stealing her stats she just won't do any kind of damage. His relics are pretty terrible in my opinion. I'm not sure what went wrong in here. Did he mess up? Did he intentionally put it this way? But these relic setups are pretty horrible in my opinion. It's always chest first, and even then it's just 3 weird setup of relics, so I'm not a fan of that at all. And then in the third match it was Avenger Phantoms against Mystifiers, which was also again a easy win. His relics are correct in this case, his team is also correct, maybe not positioning, but the team and everything else is correct. Unfortunately, the Phantom Avengers just can't be touched at all by any pretty much team. And as you can see, Ying Zheng is doing a lot in these teams. I believe he also heals a lot, as you can see right here. Just look at the amounts of heals he does. He shouldn't be overlooked. He's a really strong hero in the Phantom Avengers, and he brings a lot of value in them. Then this was the end of my Phantom Avengers, so they did what they were supposed to do. They did 3-0, they did bring me an advantage. So they did waste 3 of his teams. Then comes the fourth battle, which was my version of Dooms, which I consider to be the best Dooms, but they can be better if we add Primordial Arctina or Lucifer. Again, I did sacrifice them for this team to get 3-0, so in a way it's kind of justified. My relics are these ones, so that's why you can see I didn't really need the lance. But I went up against the Ethereal, so this is the strongest Ethereals version in my opinion, especially with Hela instead of Lucifer. I really do love Hela in Ethereals. She fits them so nicely with the CC she provides once they're hit, so you can kind of fight back the enemy Ethereals or enemy Babylon teams, which means the positioning he did is correct. He put his main DPS in the front row, which can't be targeted by Babylon, which is the way you do it, and Hela in the back row, so my Babylon hits his Hela like 5 times and my entire team gets stunned. That's why my team did absolutely nothing. It gets outscaled by 8 Ethereals, and it really can't be matched. I also do have 8 Dooms against 8 Ethereals, so this matchup is quite close, but he does run Scepter and Sarcophagus, which scaling from Sarcophagus HP is quite nuts, and Scepter to remove any kind of debuffs, buffs, etc. from me. And then he does have Excalibur, which I dislike in this case. I would much rather run the Seal of Crown or whatever the name is, so from the last season. So, but yeah, apart from that, everything else is pretty perfect on his end. Perhaps you could run Venus in position 5 over Elisha, but that's just a personal preference, and not much could have been done by my Doom Monarchs in this case. Then we go to the 5th team, which I did run the Pandora, Aphrodite, Marina, Yorm, and the Loki. This team is meant to snowball, so this team was meant to basically go all out in the first round. As you can see, all of these heroes spam ultimates like crazy, and unfortunately they didn't do much to the Ethereals. As per usual, Ethereals are just too strong, so all of his Ethereals lived, but the Dooms did take out one hero out of his teams, which was the Amaterasu. Not really a big contributor to this team. It would be far better if it take down the Venus, but unfortunately we did not. So our team in the number 5 did not do anything. This was a test team. I didn't really do a lot of with it, but I did test it against Namut. But I do believe that Planner Gate 7 stars is the difference maker when it works. So yeah, overall this team has Phantom Illusion, it has counter to the Phantom Illusion, it has counter to the Invincible because of Marina's Splash, it has action from the Marina, it has initial action from the Loki, follow-up actions by Pandora, Yorm, and Marina, as well as Aphrodite if any kill happens. Unfortunately, I did not get a kill, it looks like, so I didn't really win. I believe he was the attacker in this case, which gives him the advantage. Otherwise, I do believe that this team could have won the enemy team if I was the attacker, but since I was not, he did get first action and basically kill my entire team because of that. So this team also does have CC immunity from those Glorians, and yeah, overall it's a pretty solid team, but I don't think it works on the defense. And now we go to the 6th battle, which was my Mystifiers against 4 of his Ethereals. Again, the perfect Mystifiers, it doesn't really get any better than this, but you could argue I should have run the Telescope instead of Cauldron or the Gleipnir, probably the Cauldron. But unfortunately it did not matter because again he was the attacker, so I get CC'd, I die really fast, and there's no counter to Ethereals when you're a defender. Apart from praying they don't CC you, which is very likely to not happen, so 3 Glorians maybe would have helped here, but I doubt it, so the only solution was playing the Telescope, so it ults from one of my deviants, instantly ults, and hope that EU pops off to kill enemies, but unfortunately that did not happen because I did not run Telescope. I hope this rally combo would be better, but it seems not. Also on top of that, the Mystifiers don't really have a lot of fighting chance against the Ethereals, but it should have been won in my opinion if I was the attacker. And then lastly, this was the last of his team pretty much, so his best team in quotes is the Ethereals in my opinion, so he did get 3-0 on me just like I did 3-0 on him. So again, this is just what I talked about, the best team being Phantom Avengers with Lucifer 3-0, the best team being the Ethereals with Hera 3-0, or rather Hela, and then we go to the last battle, which is my own Ethereals with Hela as well against his Phantom Avengers with Lucifer. But I did beat him because I did anticipate that he will play this to basically copy me. So I did anticipate this to be his last team. That's why I was putting all of my faith on my Ethereals, which is why you can see I'm running Scepter. So I run the chest to instantly proc the Scepter, which will remove the stat steal from the Lucifer and then allow my heroes to actually deal damage to the enemy team. Then I have the crown or whatever the name of this relic is, so I have this to basically seal the enemy opponents in hopes it will counter either Lucifer or Arcdina or even the Ying Shang himself, because he's quite the strong hero. So yeah, I did win. Maybe you can call this luck, maybe not, but I did anticipate it to be this team as his last. That's why I put mine in the first. I wanted to ensure my team goes through the victory and then have my second best team, the Ethereals, be my last team and have the best relics saved for it as well, in hopes for it to counter the enemy Lucifer. I did make a mistake of putting Arcane Doorbella in this position against Babylon, but against Avengers, since they do scale from dodge, they're basically all about the dodge. I don't think putting Arcane Doorbella on position 3 for the accuracy is a mistake at all. So that's why she got kind of benefited in this position, but against Babylon this could have hurt me badly. Luckily I do have Scepter, so Scepter kind of makes you pass through some things even if you make mistakes. His relics are pretty solid, pretty good options, but not enough because the Scepter is the MVP. With 8 Ethereals it's really hard to beat. So yeah, those were the Foggy teams. As I said, I do believe that Ethereals and Avengers are the two strongest teams by far. And then we have Doom and Mystifiers in the mono teams speaking. Obviously you can counter the 8 Ethereals with like 3 Glorians or some mix up with some Esmerina or Yorm or Wuzetian and everything else. It's pretty flexible PvP meta right now, but for mono synergies I do believe that Ethereals are the best, followed by Avenger Phantoms. And then Dooms, Mystifiers, perhaps Valiantors now with that Knight, but I doubt it, and then lastly Glorians. Glorians are strong, but not because of the synergy, they're strong because their heroes are strong. Heroes like Yorm, S Marina, Wuzetian, and other heroes that I currently can't wrap my finger about, but yeah. So that was the best teams in the PvP right now. In PvP right now, it was also kind of similar in the last season. So here's my another take on the Avenger Phantoms, but this time I did swap around relics because I was the attacker. So if you're attacker, you want chest on your Avengers always, all the times, for sure. So this team did end up getting 3-0 as per usual, even beating the Lucifer Ethereals, or other Lucifer Ethereal Glorians. So yeah, really strong team and not much to do about it. And then I did put my second strong team in the second lineup because I wanted to win as fast as possible. As you can see, he does have kind of correct dooms. Apart from these relics, I don't think these relics are good for these kind of dooms. You want as much sustain as possible. But yeah, as you can see, these I run sarcophagus instead of chest in here for the HP and for the crits. And then the fifth battle was against his Valiantors, which was quite an easy thing to beat, even with 4 Ethereals, or rather the 4 heroes of Ethereals right here. So yeah, that was my Foggy Coliseum lineup for the last season. Thank you for watching and see you guys in the next one.